I was living with his mother when I went back to try to get my high school diploma. This is the main reason why I'm here now, because they kicked me out a week before Christmas.
You can't tell her to close her mouth.
And she does need to shut up.
Did you go anywhere else is the question?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Where did you go?
I went to a friend's house.
Friend you've ever been intimate with?
Not at that time, no.
At what time?
After I got into a relationship with him, after Roberto left.
Were you dating this man and Mr. Hodges at the same time?
No, Your Honor.
So why is this man saying this? He's giving all these specific details to Miss Blevins.
He was at the hospital when Lillian was born. Yes, I was with him at that time.
Ms. Christian's hopes were beyond high in this episode. She wanted nothing other than to prove to the defendant that she was his daughter. She hoped to gain closure if the results came out in her favor, but it was a long stretch. Why? Mr. Christian believed there was no need for a DNA test. His mind was already made up. Here's how it all started.
Miss Christian, you opened your case hoping the court will grant you a paternity test so you can prove to the defendant that he is your biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim that up until recently, you were told that Mr. Christian is your father, and you need the test to gain closure. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
That is a major no right from the start, because Ms. Christian already has his last name. If she had his last name, why exactly is he denying her? Well, Judge Lauren has to listen to everyone's side of the story before the DNA test can be done, so let's listen away.
I'll start with you, Miss Christian. Why should the court grant this DNA test?
Well, first of all, Your Honor, I have his last name. So how can I not be his child if I still have his last name?
Tell the court how this has impacted your life.
I mean, I feel alone. I don't have any dad side of the family. I never had a father in my life. How can you say you're not my father when you've been in and out of my life since I was little and I still carry your last name? I don't get that.
Whatever Ms. Christian's feelings were, they didn't matter to him. He stood on his claim, saying he knew she wasn't his daughter. Judge Lauren then had to ask him why he was so sure, even though he was in and out of her life while she was growing up. Could there be a mystery behind his denying Ms. Christian?
But you never really committed to the father-daughter relationship. Why?
Well, her mother and I had a lifestyle that we lived that was kind of contrary. I was in the streets. We were both in the streets, but...
And why does that make you emotional, sir?
Because me and her mother were like Bonnie and Clyde.
Could that be enough reason to doubt that she might be his daughter? I mean, he claimed he and her mother were like Bonnie and Clyde, so what's making him doubt? But here's the twist to the story. Mr. Christian is the only one who has doubts. The rest of his family accepts Ms. Christian as his daughter.
You know this woman, she only been in his life for 3 years. I'm 26 years old. What can you say about this situation? I'm the innocent person in this situation. You want to sit there and cry and you a grown man? And I've been going through all this? I'm the innocent person. I got a baby on the way.
Calm down.
I need to know who my family is.
You're right.
Oh boy, I bet you didn't see that coming. Thank Jesus her aunt was in the courtroom. Her aunt claimed that, at first, he couldn't keep his eyes off Ms. Christian. He was always taking care of her. And then boom, the story changed. He got married to another woman, and he is no longer the loving father he used to be.
And first of all, he was claiming her, taking care of her, doing stuff for her. So you're not claiming her because you got a new wife?
So hold on, you're saying that when Miss Christian was born, Mr. Christian was taking care of her like she was his child?
Exactly what I'm saying,
Accepting her?
Basically like a deadbeat father.
Well, there's no denying the obvious. Ms. Christian is quite upset about the whole situation. Trust me, if you were in her position, I'm sure you'd hold a grudge too. Moving on, her aunt drops a truth bomb. She claims that all the while her daughter was looking for her father, he was busy messing with other women. Ain't that a surprise?
I have always, because I know a lot, I know too much, and I kept stuff from her. I didn't want her to know stuff. It was stuff that, because I'm auntie, so I protected her from all that. But I knew where he was at. He was out there busy doing other things. So he didn't have no time for no kid.
I was living with his mother when I went back to try to get my high school diploma.
Exactly.
Suppose that was a boxing ring. I'm sure Ms. Christian and her aunt would have knocked out Mr. Christian's wife's teeth. They didn't want her in their business one bit. Now the judge asks Mr. Christian if he remembers spending any time with Ms. Christian while she was a kid. Here's what he had to say.
I have problems with my memory right now because of my past history. I think I've suppressed a lot of memories, but I do remember times where her mother would call me and I would come try to bond with her, but I never felt a connection or a bond, even in those attempts.
At least his sense of being a father didn't fade away from his memory. Was it because he didn't grow up with a father too? Who knows? Anyway, Mr. Christian goes on to play the blame game and says they are in the entire situation because of Ms. Christian's mother. Was she going to let him talk about her mother like that?
And I
Be
don't know where
addressing
I
your
come
mother.
from.
You should be addressing your mother.
Hold
It's
on.
about you and my mother because you as
Well,
a
I'm
grown
here.
man, you as
I'm here. Where's
you
your
as
mother?
a responsible person, James. If you feel like I'm not yours, don't
need to be
keep
here.
coming in and out my life confusing me.
I'm here.
So
Need to
wait,
be.
I need a blood test today.
Well, you finna get one.
Another truth bomb hits the grounds of the courtroom. Mr. Christian was meant to take a blood test and he bailed? Tell me if he couldn't look any guiltier. He claimed he did take a blood test, and when the results came out, it revealed that Ms. Christian was not his daughter.
I took a blood test and the test came back 99.8% that me and her mother didn't possess the proper gene in order to create Precious.
wait, where did you
Right.
see those results?
They sent it to me in the mail and I wish I had kept it.
Judge Lauren sure wasn't buying his story. She approved them getting a DNA test done, and the results are in. Boy, am I ready to hear the verdict. I hope you're as excited as I am because here it comes.
Mr. Christian, you are not the father.
Oh, we glad too.
Miss Matthews, just let it breathe.
Cause she,
Just give her a minute to process it.
I know, but she over there clapping. It ain't funny.
I'll punch her right.
No.
Calm down, cause I got.
Who was clapping?
She was clapping. She clapping and laughing like it's funny.
I have not laughed.
Ms. Hall was under some kind of delusion in the courtroom. She left the defendant and started to live with another man during the week of her conception, but she is beyond certain that Mr. Buford is the father of her child. Mr. Buford, on the other hand, claimed Ms. Hall cheated on him, but he doesn't see her as trustworthy anymore.
Now, Ms. Hall, you claim that although you left the defendant and began living with another man the very same week your daughter was conceived, Mr. Buford is still her biological father.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, now furthermore, you say that you and Mr. Buford have now recently reunited and you hope to prove paternity so he'll marry you.
That's correct, Your Honor.
The judge started with Mr. Buford, who was about to take the courtroom down memory lane, and explain why he had doubts about being the father of the baby. His suspicions of her cheating started when he had a family get-together at Ms. Hall's parents' house.
Came over, they're gonna cook. So
Okay.
I'm outside with her father. We're out there talking about what are we gonna do for New Year's, the resolutions, how we wanna change things or make things better. And all of a sudden he's like, let's go in and grab something to eat. So I'm going in to get something to eat or whatever. And I'm like, where's Mary? Her sister's like, oh, she's gone. She went to go get some milk. She went to go get milk? What's milk for? We got food and drinks, everything.
Well, Ms. Hall did let the cat out of the bag. On New Year's Eve, when she was supposed to be with her family, she claimed she went to get some milk for her sister's baby. Was that true? Oh, you can bet it wasn't. She went to see one of her male friends for over an hour and a half.
I proceed.
Hold on. Ms. Hall, did you go anywhere else is the question?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Where did you go?
I went to a friend's house.
A
I was
male
only-
friend or a female
It was a
friend?
male friend, Your Honor, and I was only there for 10 minutes.
Did you tell Mr. Buford that you were going to go by this male friend's house on New Year's Eve?
No, I didn't, Your Honor.
Mr. Beaufort believed the man she went to see was someone she had been sleeping with while they were in a relationship. Well, Ms. Hall had some truth bombs to drop. She claimed the reason he was calling her a cheat was because throughout their relationship, all he did was cheat on her with several women.
I'm already in my head like, this ain't right.
The reason why he's accusing me of cheating is because he cheats. He's been cheating throughout the whole relationship. I go through his phone, I find text messages to other girls, I find emails that he sent women on Craigslist for one-night stands. I've seen pictures in his phone of women in thongs.
Oh, trust me, there was a lot of truth to be told in that courtroom. In trying to defend himself, he claimed that when she went through his phone, they only just started talking. Ms. Hall, on the other hand, claimed she was happy she went through his phone. Here's the reason for her excitement.
Weeks or something, I wake up.
If I didn't, I wouldn't have known he still had a girlfriend.
Oh, so, okay, he still had a girlfriend when?
When I first met him.
So, bottom line is you all were in a relationship and you accuse him of cheating and now he's accusing you of cheating.
Right.
After he found out that she had another man on her menu, he decided to disappear. He claimed he didn't want anything to do with her. But a while after he disappeared, one of his family members called him and said Ms. Hall moved another guy into her house just a week after they split up.
You already did what you did. You got disappeared, so let me disappear.
And then what happened?
A week later, I got a lot of family in camp. She must think she invincible or something. They called me like, oh, she got another dude. He's staying at the house now around your son and stuff. So I'm like, at work, like, wow. You would move somebody in the bed and stuff a week later and you just now met the dude and have him around my son?
It was getting a little difficult to believe the things that Ms. Hall was telling the judge. She admitted that a guy actually moved into her house and was with her for an entire month. She was firm on the fact that they didn't have any kind of sexual relationship, but was that true?
And I had already found out I was pregnant the beginning of February.
So you're saying to this court, a grown man moved into the house after Mr. Buford left, and you all didn't sleep together for an entire month?
Yes, Your Honor, that's correct.
Mr. Boville came prepared, trust me. He wanted to prove to the court so badly that the child was not his. He brought a calendar revealing the period during which he and Ms. Hall were intimate, and also the period she was sleeping with the other guy.
All right, the 31st. That was the 31st when I was over at her family house. She disappeared.
New Year's Eve.
Exactly.
Okay.
She disappeared that night for that hour and a half. Later on that night, after 1 o'clock, it's January 1st. We slept together that one night.
Okay.
The rest of that time, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, she was seeing him, but he was already moved in by the 6th, 7th, 8th, and she was probably sleeping with him then.
Now, Miss Hall found out she was pregnant, and when she did, she reached out to Mr. Buford. His mind was already made up that he was not the father of her baby, so he told her on the spot that there was no way he was going to accept the baby.
After this incident right here, after everybody telling me what's going on, and this guy over my house, she called me at work a month later talking about, oh, I'm pregnant. I'm like, okay, what you telling me for? This dude at the house already or whatever. She like, where's your baby? I'm like, how you sure or whatever? She's like.
Their lies and deception had gone on for way too long, and the judge was tired of hearing these two grown-ups lie through their teeth. The results are in, and now we will know who has been lying all this time.
Mr. Buford, you are her father.
And y'all owe my baby an apology.
I'm glad that I am the father. If I've been there that whole time and stuff, I don't know what I'd be doing right now.
So you're happy?
Yeah.
And Ms. Hall, listen, you're lucky today, because the best thing about this is that only you know.
Right.
But as the court, I can only caution you with your smirk. I think you should make better choices.
Let's just say a lot was hanging on the results from the DNA test in this episode. Mr. Hodges was in court with his mother to prove that he couldn't be the father of Ms. Willard's 1-month-old baby, and he had proof to back him up. Ms. Willard was also in the courtroom with her mother, and they wanted to prove that they were 1,000% sure the baby belonged to Mr. Hodges.
Mr. Hodges, you and your mom opened your case today because you both say the defendant is a liar and a cheater. You don't believe you fathered her 1-month-old daughter, Lillian Willard, and plan to prove that today. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Hodges wasn't just upset that there was a possibility the baby could not be his. He was quite upset that the woman he believed to be the love of his life was a pathological liar, and she would cheat on him with several guys on different occasions. But as you would expect, Ms. Willard denied his accusation and claimed he was wrongly accusing her.
She cheated on me, and I caught her with multiple guys. She had one hidden in the room, and whenever we first got together, she said that she would never hurt me or cheat on me. She would be truthful, and yet she's lied to me left and right.
Now, Mr. Hodges was asked what kind of relationship he had with Ms. Willard and how they ended up becoming a couple. His answer was nothing short of shocking. He claimed he met her after she had a one-night stand with one of Mr. Hodges' relatives.
I met him through a family member of his.
She had one night stand with him, and I was there to comfort her, and we talked for a week or so. And
Oh, you met her after she had a one-night stand with another guy, and then she cried on your shoulder, and then you and she got together.
yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Blevins, I understand that you are the one who pushed your son to open this case.
Mr. Hodges was initially hesitant to drag Ms. Willard's ass to court to determine if he was the real father of her child. They weren't just throwing accusations. Trust me, they had caught her in the act more than once. To make things even worse, Mr. Hodges and Ms. Willard were engaged, but before that, she had already been married and Mr. Hodges had no idea.
The other guy in your bedroom
I
when
did.
Mr. Hodges came?
They had broke up
So why you have to hide anybody?
because she didn't want him to know. She didn't want to hurt him. She didn't want to start no trouble because Hardy's got a temper.
Well, we was engaged.
It was my understanding they had broke up.
So were you engaged or were you broken up?
We was engaged.
Yeah, we were engaged.
So you were engaged, Miss Willard?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, it was time to throw in the evidence, and Mr. Hodges' mom came well prepared. Mr. Hodges' mom had some mind-blowing texts that revealed Ms. Willard's atrocities. It was no joke in the courtroom. Trust me, all hands were pointing to Ms. Willard, because it was obvious she was married while in a committed relationship with Mr. Hodges.
Do you have those messages?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me have those. Jerome, can you please bring me those messages? Thank you. Ms. Blevins says, I do understand my son was engaged to her and caught her cheating. The other man says, we got together on June 2nd of last year. Ms. Blevins, you say, let me check the dates, give me a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
If there was one thing Ms. Willard was very good at, it was the fact that she sure knew how to hide things from Mr. Hodges. First, she didn't disclose the fact that she was married before they started dating. Secondly, she refused to tell him that she was cheating on him with another guy, and now she had a child before her current baby, and she still didn't mention it to Mr. Hodges.
So she hid that she had a husband before she met you, and you were engaged to her when she really already had a husband. She hid that she had a child, and she also hid a man in her mother's house when you came over.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Hodges, take me to the day you found out Miss Willard was pregnant.
She called me and she said that she was 8 months pregnant and...
8 months?
Yes.
Everyone in the courtroom could see why Mr. Hodges said he was very hurt when the court session initially started. Ms. Willard was actually a pathological liar, and the lies had gone on for just too long. Judge Lauren was no longer going easy on her. It was high time she started telling the truth and stopped playing with everyone's emotions.
This is too much lying.
I know.
This is just too much lying. Now, I heard about 5 lies already. What is going on? Why are you texting him like the baby isn't born when the baby is born?
Okay, he's married now, and I just didn't want to break up a marriage when he found out he had a kid by another person. That's it.
Well, there's no going back now. The situation is just very messed up, but the truth is about to be unleashed. It's the moment we've all been waiting for. All that was left was for the DNA results to be revealed and for this drama to come to an end. The answers lie in front of the judge.
Mr. Hodges, you are the father. We have the answer, we need it. And it was actually the answer all of you wanted. You okay, honey?
Yeah, I'm fine.
I want to meet with you both in my chambers. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
When does anything ever go right in paternity court? Ms. Smethers dragged the defendant to court because she was so devastated that he was refusing to accept paternity for her child. She was confident that the results would knock some sense into him, so he would act right. Ms. Stevens didn't care about how she felt at all. She had proof that he couldn't be the father.
Ms. Smethers, you've dragged the defendant to court because you are devastated that he refuses to accept that he is your son Adrian's biological father. You claim today's DNA test results will have a dramatic impact on your future as a family. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, things were not always so bad in their relationship. Ms. Smethers and Mr. Stevens had known each other for quite some time, even before they got into a romantic relationship. After the birth of their first daughter, all hell broke loose in their relationship.
Well, Your Honor, me and Mr. Stevens met when I was 16 years old. We went to GED classes together. We eventually started dating. I moved in with them. And we had our first daughter. After that, it went from good to bad. Mr. Stevens started cheating on me. I was always at home with the baby. You know, he was always out with girls.
As I said, their relationship went from bad to worse. And the worst things happened. For the first 5 years of their relationship, Mr. Stevens had been cheating on Ms. Smethers with several different women. Ms. Smethers felt betrayed, and as you would expect, she got revenge.
Necessarily, not with this woman at least.
He cheated on me for the first 5 years of our relationship. I did not step out of the relationship until right before our son was conceived.
She wants to say, like, I cheated on her for the 5 years, but, like, there'd be times when I'd text her and ask her, like, hey, where you at? Well, she's supposed to be at home, but yet she's in a different state. She was in a different state. She was not at home. She was not at home.
No,
she was in
I
Indiana.
was at home. No, I wasn't.
Now, Ms. Smethers finds out she's pregnant, and she obviously can't wait to break the news to Mr. Stevens. She tells him about the pregnancy, and he immediately becomes the happiest man on earth. But the doubts start to kick in, and things take a different turn.
What was his response?
He was happy.
You were?
Yeah, at first, yeah, I was happy. And then, like, and then the aspect is like, you know, she was pregnant, but she waited 5 months to tell me that there was a possibility that he wasn't.
Oh, so initially when you found out she was pregnant, you didn't have any
I was
issue.
excited, like, cause you know, like I found out that it was a boy, so like, you know, it was my first boy. I was excited about that.
The truth bomb drops, and the courtroom is in complete shock. After having the baby in her stomach, she sits Mr. Stevens down and tells him she cheated, and that there is a chance that the baby might not not actually belong to him. Trust me, he didn't take the news so well.
And so at 5 months, she pops up and tells you, I cheated and this may not be your child?
One of my family members and a couple of our mutual friends that we had together, they ended up coming out and telling me that she opened up to them and told them that AJ might not be mine and that she cheated on me. And
I did open up and say that I was with another man, but I never said that AJ was not his.
Their case had more juice than a juice factory. Miss Smethers claimed that she only got intimate with another guy once, but Mr. Stevens said that was a lie. He even went on to say that one of their sexual adventures happened right under his mother's roof. Would you imagine that? I would lose my mind if I were in his shoes.
The other guy that I slept with was 3 months prior to me getting pregnant.
with her and the other guy, it was more than one time. And then on top of that, it was at my mom's house, in our bedroom.
What?
You know what I'm saying? And at my parents' house. And like I begged for them.
I admit what I did
honestly,
was
this what
wrong.
happened.
No, that is beyond wrong.
Mr. Stevens' mind was as tight as a fist, ready to knock someone out. He didn't change his belief that he wasn't the father of the child Ms. Smethers was claiming to be his. When asked why, he went on to say there were no features of the baby that matched any of his.
But you don't believe that, Mr. Stevens.
Not one bit.
Why do you believe this other man is Adrian's biological father?
Because I don't see my side of the feature in him when it comes to it. Like, he's the lightest one.
Okay, well, you know babies come in all different skin colors. You cannot judge a baby by what color they come out,
but that's
or even
his-
what
that's
color
one of
they
his
are.
main
You
points.
can't judge that.
I know, that's one of his main points. That's what I'm trying to get through his head. Just because he has lighter skin doesn't mean he's not his.
There was no doubt, though. Mr. Stevens, even with his doubt, didn't want to completely turn his back on the baby. Being that there is a chance he could end up being the father, he wanted to build a bond with the child and also make sure the child had a father figure in its life. But the doubts just couldn't get out of his head.
A lot of the times, but I try not to because it messes with me. That gives me more doubt, and like I just don't want that. Like, I want me and him to have a bond. Like, I want us to be able to go fishing. I want us to be able to go hunting and do stuff together.
And that upsets you.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, Mr. Stevens sure couldn't shake the doubts about being the father from his mind. The judge sensed that, and the only way to calm his mind was to reveal the truth. The results are in, and I hope you paternity folks are ready for them. Here comes the truth.
Mr. Stevens, you are the father. I was happy to deliver those results to you.
Thank you.
I can see this means a lot to you.
Yeah.
How are you feeling in this moment to know you do have your son?
Right now I'm happy.
Good.
Mr. Hudson was beyond furious with Ms. Bridges. Why? She led him to believe that he was the biological father of her son, then went on to break his heart by telling him she slept with another man. Ms. Bridges didn't deny the fact that she was intimate with another man, but she had every reason to believe that Mr. Hudson was her child's father.
Mr. Hudson, you claim the defendant led you to believe you were her son, Ja'Cory's biological father, then dropped a bomb and admitted she slept with someone else.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're in court to prove you are not her son's father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Bridges, you admit to sleeping with another man, but claim that you have no doubt Mr. Hudson is your child's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Ms. Bridges and Mr. Hudson had been together for 5 solid years. Around this period was when Ms. Bridges got pregnant, and Mr. Hudson automatically believed he was the father because, at the time, she was the only one she was sleeping with, or so he was led to believe.
We were together for approximately about 5 years, Your Honor.
Okay. So you were there throughout the pregnancy,
Yes,
and you were
ma'am.
taking care of her. You all lived together.
Yes, ma'am.
You had a relationship.
Yes, Your
So
Honor.
you thought this baby was yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you at the birth?
Yes, Your Honor. I was at the hospital. I took her to doctor's appointments. I was there. I cut the umbilical cord, Your Honor. I even signed the birth certificate on the day of the birth.
The truth bomb couldn't have picked a better time to be dropped, trust me. At one of their son's birthday parties, Mr. Hudson and Ms. Bridges got into a heated argument, and that's when the truth jumped out of Ms. Bridges' mouth that she slept with another man.
When did she drop this bomb?
We had an argument, and that's when she came and she was telling me how I might not be the father and she had done these things. But I paid no attention to them because I am the father. I'm supposed to be the father. I'm here.
He was cheating on me back then, so that's the reason why I did what I did. So yes, I say he might not be the father, but I know he's the father of Ja'Cory.
Since Mr. Hudson found out that his girlfriend cheated on him, he hasn't been in the child's life at all. It's not like he didn't want to be in his son's life, but he claimed he had no way of contacting his child because Ms. Bridges wouldn't let him see the baby.
And what changed that?
I have no way of getting in contact with him. I can't talk to him. I can't see him.
He knows my auntie number. I gave it to him plenty of times. You just making things up, just not to be in the baby's life.
So is it your inability to get in contact with the child really what's holding you back? Or is it the fact that you don't truly know?
It's the fact that we don't know, Your Honor.
I mean, Ms. Bridges admitted to cheating, so there was a high chance that there were possibly 2 different men who could be the fathers of the child. The big question now is, what's making her so certain that the child belongs to Mr. Hudson and not the guy she slept with?
I just know, look at my baby, and he been there for us, so it's like, hey,
I've been there, correct. I took care of her when the time when she had no one else to take care of her.
Yes, and I appreciate that.
I took the part.
For everything.
I did everything. She didn't have to do nothing but go to school. I paid all the bills. I worked 2 jobs.
Yes.
At the age of 18.
Mr. Davis, the man she had a sexual relationship with outside of her initial relationship with Mr. Hudson, walks into the courtroom, and his mouth is filled with so many truth bombs. Believe me. The crazy thing was that Mr. Davis also thought he was the father of her child.
You believe you're Ja'Cory's biological father?
Yes, I do, for several reasons. Me and Miss Bridges met. We hung out for a couple of months. We ended up having unprotected sex around about 3 times. I didn't know that she was pregnant at all until I looked on Facebook one day, like a year later, and I see a picture of her son. And immediately I think her son looks like my nephew.
Now, Ms. Bridges couldn't get her story right with the judge, and it was really starting to piss her off. First, she claimed she knew for a fact that Mr. Hudson was the child, but she left out the part where she also made it known to Mr. Davis that he could also be a potential father.
But you testified earlier that you said you know for sure.
I know for sure it's Mr. Hudson's child. So.
But I mean, if you know that for sure, then what was the point of coming to me and saying anything at all?
Because I was just adding up the dates to see how I was just adding up the dates. He said it was wrong.
Okay, but then you came right back
I came to you.
Hold your breath now, because the DNA test results are ready to be revealed. The tension was escalating, with emotions running high, and the truth was about to hit like a plot twist. Who's the real baby daddy? Let's see.
Mr. Hudson, you are not his father. Mr. Davis, you are not his father. This courtroom is in shock. This is not what anyone expected to know.
There was enough anger to go around in this court case. Ms. Colbert appeared in court, boiling like a volcano, to prove to Mr. Tubbins that he was the only man who could have fathered her twins. But Mr. Tubbins claimed there was no way he could be the father because he found out that she had slept with 2 of his family members.
Ms. Colbert, you've petitioned the court for a DNA test to prove to Mr. Tubbins that he is the father of your 9-month-old twins, Ariel and Adonis Colbert.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Tubbins, you say you know you're not the twins' father and claim that you uncovered that Ms. Colbert slept with not 1, but 2 of your family members.
Yes, sure.
Everyone wanted to know what kind of relationship Mr. Tubbins and Ms. Colbert had that would make her want to sleep with his family members. Well, guess what? They were actually married. They got married about a month after they met each other, and she claimed it was because of Mr. Tubbins' religion.
Your Honor, I am his wife. I married him 1 month after dating, and it was because of his religion issues. He wanted to become married, and because he wanted to use me. He was living in a house with a 2-year-old child with no hot water and no electricity, and I felt bad for him, and I allowed him to come to my house and stay.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, he impregnates me.
But you're his wife now, right?
Yeah, by this time, yes, I'm his wife.
In no time, accusations started to fly about, and the secrets of their relationship started to come to light. After their marriage, less than 3 weeks into the marriage, Ms. Colbert hops out of nowhere and tells Mr. Tubbins she's pregnant, and in his mind, it just doesn't make sense.
About 3 weeks after you married her, she told you she was pregnant.
Yes.
And immediately you questioned the twins.
Yes, because she lied from the beginning. She told me that the last person that she slept with was 3 months prior before we started trying to get together. Then she turned it from 3 months to 3 weeks.
When did she change the story?
Right before the marriage.
If there's anything Ms. Colbert was sure of, it was the fact that she had the worst taste in men, and getting intimate with Mr. Tubbins was the worst mistake of her life. She claimed he was using her because she loved him and wanted to get him out of a messy position in his life.
He just used me. He was using my truck. He ain't have no way to get around, and I was helping him.
And that's who you chose to sleep with?
It was the worst mistake of my life.
Exactly.
It was the worst mistake of my life.
So you let him move in, then you married him?
Yes, I did. And that was the worst mistake that I ever made in my life.
Mr. Tubbins was still hitting the nail on the head by claiming that Ms. Colbert had slept with his family members. As you would expect, the judge was forced to ask him how he knew something like that happened. His response was nothing short of mind-blowing. He claimed she told him about it.
It was 20 years before me and him got together. When me and him first started dating, I looked on his Facebook and, you know, I was just being nosy because we starting to date. I want to investigate you. So I'm doing my investigation and I see the picture of him and a mutual friend of ours. And come to find out it's his family member. So if we're going to continue on in a relationship, Your Honor, I need to be honest with him.
Newsflash, she didn't just sleep with one of his family members. At least, that's what he was claiming in the courtroom. He said that when they broke up, the other family member came to him and told him that if he had mentioned he wanted to get married to her, he would have advised him against it because he also slept with her.
After we broke up, a family member came to me. He said, well, you know what? If you would have came to me and let me know before, I could have told you all about her.
Oh, really?
You know? And then he told me about...
But now they tell you? Did this family member say he had also slept with her?
Yes.
So there's one family member from 20 years ago and then this family member?
Yes.
Did she ever tell you about the second family member?
Never.
Miss Colbert, did you sleep with the second family member?
I wouldn't even know what he talking about.
It was beyond a mess in the courtroom, with Ms. Colbert and Mr. Tubbins yelling at the top of their voices. Now, Ms. Colbert was voicing out her complaints to the judge and telling her that all the while, they were together. Mr. Tubbins never told his family members about her or her babies. Trust me, she was furious about it.
When he hid our marriage, he hid my pregnancy, he didn't want nobody to know that we was even getting married. Why don't you be honest? You call yourself a man of God. Be a man of God and be honest. Okay? Don't sit up here and try to paint me out like I'm no tramp when I was nice enough to let you in my home when you ain't have
You
nothing.
asked me to come. You asked me.
I'm gonna ask you. Why? I own my own property, baby.
So even the judge was about to lose her temper with Mr. Tubbins. He had no evidence to show that the twins were not his children. All his doubts rested on the fact that he felt Ms. Colbert slept with his family members. To make things even worse, he had never seen the twins since they were born. He wasn't making any sense to the judge anymore, so he decided to raise the argument about how the conception dates for the twins didn't add up to him. But Ms. Colbert was beyond ready for that fight, trust me.
The conception date is completely off. When we went to the hospital, the doctor said that she conceived on November 20th. We didn't have sex until November 30th.
No, we didn't. We had sex a couple days before the 28th, and then we had sex for the second time on the 28th. So we had sex 2 times in a week in that week.
The moment of truth was finally here, but the air was thick with uncertainty. What would the outcome be? Is he the father, or has Ms. Colbert been lying all this time? Time to see what the future holds for them.
Mr. Tubbins, you are the twins' father.
I'm sorry, I'll take care of him, but I have reason for doubt. I have reason for doubt.
Oh,
I'll
really?
take care of him.
Okay, whatever.
Whatever.
Before you start acting silly in here off of emotion, you haven't even met your twins. You have 2 beautiful babies.
Ms. Baylor had a brief sexual relationship with Mr. Childs, at least so she put it, and the result of the encounter was her daughter. At first, Mr. Childs accepted paternity and was open to being the father of her child. But that ship sailed when Mr. Childs' wife convinced him otherwise and said the baby could not be his.
Miss Allen, you say that after a brief affair with Mr. Childs, you discovered you were pregnant with your daughter, Ms. Baylor. You intend to prove that Mr. Childs is, in fact, your daughter's father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Childs, you admit to the affair with Ms. Allen, but say she was involved with several other people around the time of conception.
Ms. Baylor was pretty direct. I'd give her that. She was asked why Mr. Childs was denying her and her baby, and her reply was sharp. She claimed he was denying her child because of his petty wife, and she had her hands wrapped all around his decisions. But Mr. Baylor came to the rescue in defending his wife.
His petty wife. She's been doing that for years. She wasn't there when we were sleeping together or nothing, so I don't think she had anything to do with it.
So you're basically blaming his wife?
Yes.
She should blame herself, Your Honor.
What?
Why did it take you 20 years to figure out that you should get a DNA test?
Because I didn't need to go through the drama.
Again,
I didn't need to go through the drama with you.
Let's talk one at a time, because I do want to understand this.
They both had different memories of how their sexual relationship started. Ms. Baylor remembered that she came over after a football game to spend some time with Mr. Childs. And that's when one thing led to another, and they ended up getting intimate. But Mr. Childs painted a whole different picture for the judge.
One day, I just came through after a football game, and he wanted to ride with me. And so we went on and had drinks or whatever. And then that's when we had sex.
Is this the night you believe you conceived after the football game and the drinks?
Yes.
Was this the only time you were intimate with Mr. Child?
We just did it like maybe a couple times after that.
Okay, so this didn't extend for a long time. This is just a few encounters.
Yeah.
Now, Ms. Baylor found out she was pregnant. From her recollection, she claimed that when she found out about the baby, she told Mr. Childs that there was a possibility he could be the father of her baby.
You told him directly?
Yes. I told him, I said it's a possibility that she may not be.
So you said it is a possibility that she may not be yours?
Exactly.
So you acknowledge this doubt?
Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Child.
Yes, ma'am.
How did the story go in your assessment?
Your Honor, listen, wasn't no, hey, listen, I'm trying to get at you or anything like that. No, never that. It's just a moment that happened.
As I said, they both had different stories as to how they remembered the whole situation. Mr. Childs claimed when he found out she was pregnant, he reached out to her and asked her to get a DNA test done if she believed the child was his. After that, she disappeared and didn't even tell him when she gave birth.
If you're pregnant and it's mine, let's get a DNA test. We can go ahead and get this out of the way. Have no problem with taking care of her because she would have been my first. I don't see her again for months. Probably longer than that, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Allen, when Ms. Baylor was born, you didn't invite him to the birth?
No.
Did you invite any other man?
No.
Did you inform the other possibility or the other possibilities that they may be the father as well? You did?
Yes.
There was a reason she had been quiet all this while. She was a loose cannon, believe me. Mr. Childs' wife was tired of listening to Ms. Baylor speak, so she decided to drop some truth bombs of her own in the courtroom, and they were not funny at all.
Remember me chasing her up and down the street, but she can't remember who fathered her child. Why am I living in her head rent-free, but she can't remember who fathered her child? Furthermore, Your Honor, he's always been there for our children. So this little song and dance she doing, I'm telling the truth. Why would she okay, I think it's important to know too. When we met her daughter, the daughter told us that she had tested someone else. Why didn't you test him first?
The truth was starting to pop out, and all hands were pointing at Ms. Baylor to fill in the loopholes. Apparently, a man whom her daughter didn't know reached out to her and said he had a feeling she might be his daughter, and so wanted to get a DNA test just to confirm.
Ms. Allen, you say this person was never a consideration.
No, and I told him that, but he was insisting on it. I was like, that is not, I wasn't even messing with you back then.
So the bottom line is,
she don't know. That's the bottom line.
Allen, you have not had a DNA test with any of the other true potential fathers.
Right.
So, Shinesha, Ms. Baylor, were you always told Mr. Childs was your biological father?
Ms. Baylor's daughter was one hell of a smart young lady. She wasn't going to wait around for her mother to tell her who her biological father was. It's not like she knew anyway. She reached out to Mr. Childs and spoke to him about her being his daughter. The sweet thing was that he actually didn't deny her.
Would come to me like, you're my cousin, TJ's your dad. I'm like, I don't know who TJ is. Who is TJ? I went about it myself. I found him on Facebook, hit him up, and I said, look, I don't know what's going on, but I do actually want to know.
And did I ever once deny you?
Nah, you never did.
Never once. Never once. A child looking for a father, Your Honor, and I stand a chance of being there, I'm gonna be there.
Mr. Childs was not a bad man after all. She actually made several efforts to meet Ms. Baylor's daughter when she was much younger. Well, guess what? He actually did meet her. But the problem was Ms. Baylor. She just wasn't being very truthful with her daughter.
11 years ago, you would have been 9, Ms. Baylor.
Yes, ma'am.
So you made an attempt to meet Ms. Baylor at 9 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
But you weren't informed of any of this till you were 14.
No, ma'am. I met her. I sat down and talked to her at Ms. Allen's house.
So like I never saw this man in my life. Like when people was telling me when I was 14, I'm like, I don't know nobody named TJ. I don't remember him.
Well, it's time we brought the cut-tunes down on this plot twist, wouldn't you say? It was time to find out the truth and know if the craziness was all worth it. The moment of truth is here, people. Brace yourselves for the results.
Mr. Child, you are not the father. I'm very sorry, Miss Baylor.
It's okay, Your Honor. You know, at the same time.
It's okay, honey.
I would like to apologize to the both of you for that. and we can move on.
Ms. McIntyre and her mother were absolutely certain that Mr. Wilson was her baby's biological father. She claimed the only reason he wasn't accepting the baby was because he wanted to live a single life. But Mr. Wilson had more than enough proof to make him certain he couldn't be the father.
Ms. McIntyre, you and your mother stand before me claiming that you are 100% certain that Mr. Wilson is your 3-year-old son, Deshaun's biological father. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's correct.
Right, Mr. Wilson, you say you have more evidence than this court has ever seen before to prove that Ms. McIntyre cheated on you numerous times.
Their relationship started on Facebook, and Ms. McIntyre was already in love with this young man. In no time, their conversation got pretty intense, and Mr. Wilson was already telling her he would give her the world. Well, that never really happens now, does it?
Talking on Facebook, he shared a couple of pictures with me. He shared a picture like this. I thought he was very cute. He said he was gonna take care of me and my daughter.
On Facebook, he was already gonna take care of you and your daughter?
Yeah, he sold me a dream.
You had never met?
No, we never met before.
Okay.
So we finally wanted to meet up, and when he got off the bus, I seen this. He catfished me.
As I said, it was all too good to be true. After having their cute conversations on Facebook, it was finally time for them to meet in person. When they finally did, Ms. McIntyre couldn't believe what she saw. She claimed she had been catfished.
I'm like, what happened? Like, I wanted to see this, but I got this.
Is it a totally different picture, or is it just good angles?
It's good angles.
What can I show
or
you?
something, I don't know.
Did you try to catfish her, Mr. Wilson?
No, lies, all the way around. I'm sexy, why I need to catfish somebody?
Right.
Is you serious?
Mr. Wilson was being completely honest in the courtroom. Well, at least so he claimed. He said he wasn't in the courtroom to deny the child and say he wasn't the father, but he just had doubts. And Mr. Wilson needed to be sure he wasn't taking someone else's child, which, if you ask me, makes a lot of sense. But where are these doubts coming from?
I want to be honest. I'm not here to say I'm denying my kid, but at the same time too, Miss McIntyre, kind of ratchet at the same time.
When you say kind of ratchet, are you indicating or inferring that she sleeps around?
Yes, Your Honor.
I don't believe that he's saying that. This guy is full of it.
Jumping right in after Ms. McIntyre gave birth. She had her baby quite well and all right, but the question now was, did she tell Mr. Wilson she had a baby? She claimed she did, but Mr. Wilson slammed back at her and said she never reached out to him at all.
Did you tell Mr. Wilson?
Nope. Nope, not until after the fact. They claimed they didn't have no way.
Serious?
They claimed they didn't have no way of getting in contact with me. They called me after the fact he was conceived. I wasn't at the hospital.
No, he was
I was
not
none
at
of
the
that.
hospital because
none of that, because they didn't want me to be there.
He didn't have.
Period.
Why wouldn't we want him to be there?
Period. Because she don't like me, just like I don't like her.
He didn't have a ride. That was his
up.
excuse.
Well, it was from argument to the next, with Ms. McIntyre, her mom, and Mr. Wilson wanting to rip out their throats. Mr. Wilson's name was never put on the child's birth certificate because he never made it to the hospital, but since the baby came into the world, he hasn't done a single thing.
Hasn't done anything for him?
Not to my knowledge.
And believe it or not, if this baby not mine, I'm not gonna.
But it is yours.
I'm not.
But it is yours.
You haven't did anything.
I got a 1-year-old daughter. I take care of faithfully.
You never
That's the
did
thing.
anything anyway.
It is yours.
So I want to understand your doubt, Mr. Wilson.
He was ready to spill everything he believed to be true. Mr. Wilson claimed that the proof that made him feel the baby wasn't his was the fact that he kept getting texts from people he knew, saying that Ms. McIntyre had been sleeping with several other men.
I got texts that somebody that I personally knew face to face was messing around with Miss McIntyre around the same time I was messing around with Miss McIntyre.
So do you have that proof here?
Okay, then, hold on, not only that.
Do you have that proof here? No.
Not only that, though. My thing is this, not only that, I have called Miss McIntyre in her phone
Where's the text?
a couple of times with other dudes offering favors for jobs.
Well, he did let the cat out of the box, and he sure didn't feel bad for it. He claimed after he found out Ms. McIntyre had been cheating on him, he went on what I would like to call a cheating spray. Oh, he was sleeping with everybody and anybody he could find.
So yeah, I was hurt. So I went out there, I was super cheating. You know what I'm saying? I served
super cheating. When you come back,
I was super cheating.
With every transies, right?
I was super cheating. You feel me? Because at the point, I'm like, all right, this relationship ain't not going over.
Because super cheating.
Yeah, super. I'm gonna say super cheating.
It's elevated.
Yeah.
Well, the suspense is finally over, and the hassle of who the dad of their child is about to be revealed. It's been a bumpy and funny ride with Mr. Wilson and Ms. McIntyre. All eyes are on the judge as she unleashes the truth. Get ready, paternity folks.
Mr. Wilson, You are his father.
Told you. Told
That's all I needed to know.
Told you ought to be ashamed.
That's all I needed to know.
You ought to be ashamed.
I needed to know that. That's my
Mr.
thing.
Charisma.
I needed to know that.
You got the clarity you needed. And Miss McIntyre and Mom,
You're
you
right,
said
John.
you wanted your son to know his father.
It's a pretty wild ride when a wife has to convince her husband that he really is the father of their child. Miss Vaughn has the intention to prove to Mr. Williams that their baby boy Connor belongs to them and not someone from her past.
Mr. Williams, you say you got married under false pretenses and claim Miss Vaughn only used you for your money. You also believe Miss Vaughn has a secret sugar daddy and had that man throughout your entire relationship, and he's the real father.
Yes, Your Honor. So, what's the beef between these two? Ever since Connor's birth, Mr. Williams hasn't done anything to show that he's the baby's father. He bought him diapers and an outfit when he was a newborn, but after that, he's been pretty useless.
One, you can't put a price on how much a man can support his child.
Yes, you can.
No, you
Pray
cannot.
for it every day.
Mr. Williams, you say you have supported this child.
Yes, of course.
He's one, but you're also saying now, I've supported him, but he's not mine.
Yes, I did, because
Get
it
it
was
straight.
based on a love and a belief that I was being married to Miss Vaughn.
Mr. Williams was going around on campus, airing the dirty laundry of his love life by telling everyone that Miss Vaughn was promiscuous, a gold digger, and a backstabber. Mr. Williams had doubts from the day he married her that the child she was carrying belonged to her sugar daddy.
His father and I requested to meet her. We actually went to her house. And after having the discussion with her and she shared with us, then the next step was for them to get married because her grandchild, she never said their child, that she was the one driving the bus on this relationship. And along the way, I've tried to realize who's been pregnant, who got pregnant by Brian.
Once the whole pregnancy started, Miss Vaughn realized that she couldn't go on with life without facing the consequences. And now there was a baby on the way, so she had to fully embrace her role as a mother. Yet Mr. Williams isn't convinced that he's the father.
There is a question as it relates to his paternity. And it's affecting his life because he's one, and the man that you say is his biological father is saying, I don't believe I am. And you know what? At one, a baby recognizes their father.
Miss Vaughn feels confused that Mr. Williams was initially involved with parenting baby Connor, but then he backed off out of nowhere. He would babysit Connor, but the entire time he would be playing games on his electronics and not really taking care of the baby. That's pretty irresponsible.
In Mr. Williams' court papers, he alludes to the fact that he thinks you have a sugar daddy. What is this all about?
He is one of my childhood friends, and when I called and told him that Brian was not taking care of his responsibilities, when I was short on a couple of things and I couldn't call and ask Brian for it, he made sure he was there for it.
It seems that Mr. Williams really doesn't know what he's saying. When Miss Vaughn's friend called him and asked him to babysit the baby properly, Mr. Williams felt humiliated. Why was a strange man involved in his affairs? And how did he even get his number in the first place?
Did you confront Miss Vaughn and say, what are these messages and who is this person?
I've tried to contact her. She started blocking my number when I would ask about, her relationship. When I was coming over to her house, that they're already there, not dressed and claiming that it's just a regular friendship.
Looks like the truth's coming out, and maybe Mr. Williams isn't the evil man he's being portrayed to be. Miss Vaughn denied having relations with her Papa Bear, but then it turns out she was lying. The only way to end this is to read those DNA results once and for all. Baby Connor deserves to know who to call daddy.
Mr. Williams, you are the father.
Pay the lady. Pay the lady. Pay the lady.
Mr. Williams, you are the father.
Yes, Your Honor.
You are the father. You're gonna have to raise that child together. You're gonna have to help be responsible for him, care for him.
Every once in a while, a man enters a woman's life and completely sweeps her off her feet. But for Miss Taylor, the story was a little different with Mr. Brown. Once they were done with their affair, he left her alone and pregnant. Now she wants him to claim responsibility for the daughter he fathered.
Ms. Taylor, you say Mr. Brown is an older man who swept you off your feet and got you pregnant. You're here today to prove to Mr. Brown that he is the father of your 3-month-old daughter, Melanie Brown.
Yes, Your Honor.
When Judge Lauren asks Miss Taylor what Mr. Brown has done for baby Melanie, she reveals that all he's done is buy her diapers. and they weren't even the good ones. Poor Melanie ended up having diaper rash because of them, and Miss Taylor had to take her to the hospital.
Have you tried at all to get Mr. Brown involved? Have you called him? Have you said, do you want to come by and see the baby?
Yes, Your Honor. Every time I call him, he say, that ain't my baby. You need to go find your baby daddy and stop calling me.
Well, actually, she didn't know that I had a condom on.
He didn't use the condom, Your Honor.
Bottom line is, you say no protection was used. You say you did.
Yes.
How did their story start? They met each other at a club, and according to Miss Taylor, he was the one who made the first move. But Mr. Brown interrupts and says that it was her who was trying to invite herself over to his place so they could do the deed. But the shocking thing is the age difference.
He came up to you in the club?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you're how old?
18.
And he was how old?
32.
What?
32, Your Honor.
How old are you, sir?
32.
32. I always say beware the old man in the club.
Hey.
Continue, Miss Taylor.
What threw off Mr. Brown was how Miss Taylor kept asking him if he likes baby. He kept thinking to himself that maybe this strange woman had a baby fever. Who knew she would actually end up pregnant? He even thought that she might have been pregnant way before they met each other.
A father figure or father for her baby.
Because you are the father of my baby. She was already pregnant.
Yes.
I was not, Your Honor.
The first time we used a condom. The second time we...
If I was already pregnant, how come my baby 3 months?
I don't know. I've been trying to figure out. The third time the condom broke.
The condom broke.
Yes.
Judge Lauren asks how did they break the news of pregnancy. Miss Taylor confesses that when she first told Mr. Brown, he straight up said the baby couldn't be his. He said that she had to go find the real baby daddy because it sure wasn't him.
He only came around like 3 times when he wanted to have sex.
Is he in the delivery room with you?
He came after I had the baby and he held the baby. I have a picture of him
we
holding the
only
baby.
had sex once when she was pregnant anyway.
I have a picture of him
Let me
holding the
see
baby.
this evidence,
and then
bro.
he said for 5 minutes, then he said he was going to smoke a cigarette and he never came back, Your Honor.
Because I didn't feel a bond.
That's a pretty lousy excuse to deny a baby because you thought you didn't have a bond with it. Even Judge Lauren reprimands him for running away without even informing Miss Taylor. Could the DNA results help baby Melanie know who her father really is?
Mr. Brown, you are the father.
I told you. Can I have that paper, Your Honor?
Well, now I can hold her again.
That is so sad. That is so sad.
I'll do something now, though.
Sometimes people cheat on you for the craziest of reasons. Mr. Golden went behind his partner's back just because she burned his clothes. But they weren't cheap. The item cost almost $1,000. And today, he's not only suing Miss Campbell, but he's also proving he's Andrea's real father.
So, Mr. Golden, why do you think Miss Campbell is denying that you're Andrea's father?
Because she hate me.
Really? Explain.
She hate me because I slept with her best friend.
You slept with her best friend?
Yes, ma'am. But I did it to get back.
You did? Well, why would you do that?
I did it to get back out of the spice because she used to do crazy stuff to me.
Once Judge Lauren hears what Mr. Golden has to say, she's pretty shocked to see that these two are even in a relationship. Only insane people would do the things that these two have done. Miss Campbell says that everything was some mind game for Mr. Golden.
Why are you sleeping with her best friend and why are you popping up places? What is going on?
She crazy.
Your Honor, the reason why I burnt his clothes is because he told me he was going to walk to the store, right? But usually it's me and him walking to the store.
Yes.
He's walking with a girl, like close, side by side, close.
It really pissed off Miss Campbell that she caught Mr. Golden red-handed, and he ran away from her. What does Mr. Golden have to say for himself? According to him, he was just out to grab some cigarettes from the store. So, how is it his fault that another girl was walking next to him?
So when he started running, you decided I'm gonna burn his clothes.
Yeah.
So now you're so angry.
It's so angry that I went to his mom's house and went in the closet and got his clothes out and pulled his clothes right there on the ground, picked up a shirt, set it on fire, threw it on top of all his clothes, and all it was on.
And so, Mr. Golden, this is the basis of your suit.
Yes, ma'am.
Still, that's not enough reason to burn your partner's clothes. That's one wild thing to do. According to Mr. Golden, the relationship's extremely chaotic. And now, Miss Campbell is trying to get at him by proclaiming that he's not their daughter's father. Talk about insane ways of getting revenge.
Are you trying to get back at him?
I feel like he's not even the father type. If he don't even respect me, why, how can he respect my child?
Did you have sex with him?
Yes.
Without protection?
Yes, but it wasn't around the time when my baby was conceived, when she was
It wasn't. So, Mr. Golden, did she tell you she was pregnant? How did you find out?
Her mom.
Her mom told you.
But things take an even messier turn when Miss Campbell says that she felt weak for Mr. Golden and went behind her boyfriend's back to sleep with him. Looks like she couldn't resist those puppy eyes. Mr. Golden says that she didn't have a boyfriend at that time and she's faking the story. They have to bring in her mother as witness.
Miss Jones, you are
Jasmine's mother.
Miss Campbell's mother.
Yes, ma'am.
Standing with Mr. Golden. Interesting. Ma'am, did you know anything about this other boyfriend that she says she had?
No, ma'am, I did not.
You've never seen this guy?
No, ma'am, I did not see him.
Even the mother is on Mr. Golden's side. Is Miss Campbell just pure insane then? When she was pregnant with Andrea, she didn't even let Mr. Golden come to the hospital. She kept telling the nurses and the doctors to keep him away. Why does she hate this man so much?
Do you get mad at people when they say that Mr. Golden is your child's father, Miss Campbell?
No, I get mad at him because he's telling people that he's my child's father.
Why do you believe so strongly that he is, Ms. Jones?
Because he was there, and I know they was having sex. Like I said, they probably still are. I know they were, because I worked overnight till 4 in the morning.
It seems like this is an extremely personal matter for Mr. Golden. He's tried his best to be there for the baby, and it's about time all this drama came to an end. Miss Campbell might not want to be the father, but only the DNA results can tell the truth.
Mr. Golden, you are not the father.
Thank you.
Sir?
It's okay.
Mr. Golden?
Come on.
I'm straight.
You have to go. Come on. I need you to come on. It's okay. Just have a seat.
Come on back in, Mr. Golden.
What's a paternity court episode if it doesn't feature one meddling mother? Miss Knox is tired of how Mr. Bailey keeps denying being the father of their baby boy Cash, and she believes it's got everything to do with how he's such a mama's boy.
Miss Bailey, you claim your son is a famous dancer and is about to hit it big. Both of you claim Ms. Knox is pinning a baby on your son because she is after his fame and future fortune.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Knox, what has Mr. Bailey done for Cash since he's been born?
I paid for everything. That's because you wanted to.
Miss Bailey keeps firing shots at Miss Knox. She thinks that Miss Knox is after her son because she's a gold digger. At first, she didn't even seem into him, but the moment her son launched his dance career, he started earning big. So Miss Knox pounced on the opportunity.
Do you have receipts?
Yes, I do have
that
receipts
will substantiate
of all the stuff that I had bought for my child. I had to buy wipes, car seats, strollers. I had to buy everything. I haven't seen anything from it, Mr. Bailey.
So these are receipts. They total $6,960.
Yes, ma'am.
But Miss Knox has come prepared, and she's got receipts to prove it. Judge Lawrence straight up asks Mr. Bailey that if he ever tried being involved with the child when he came into this world, and he claims that he wasn't because Miss Knox ended up fleeing to Texas.
So when she left,
I have evidence.
I'd like to see that evidence. What is this evidence, sir?
I have evidence showing that you only got those things to stack up because I said I was going to put you on child support. That's the only reason why you got it.
No, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. I have it too.
Let's get some order.
Judge Lauren has a difficult time understanding why Mr. Bailey has doubts about the paternity. He was there when the pregnancy happened, and he even signed the birth certificate of baby Cash. So, what's the real reason he's having so many doubts? Did Miss Knox go behind his back?
I'm not no phone checking type person. That's not my style, okay? But I just so happened to go through her phone. She was texting me and this little dude just around the same time, telling us it was like the same conversations, right? Like minutes apart. Not even, like minutes apart. The last text message said, I'm gonna come give you a hug and a kiss from the other guy. And my text message said, I'm on my way to come get you.
Well, that's a big revelation. What will Miss Knox say to defend herself? Immediately, Miss Bailey interjects and shares her 2 cents. According to her, Miss Knox was already pregnant when she met Mr. Bailey, and now she's laid out a paternity trap for him. This is why they need the truth to come out.
Yana, he does not have a career. I don't know what career you're talking about, but he does not. He was nothing when I met him, and he's nothing now.
Miss Bailey, explain to me why you believe she was pregnant before she even met your son.
Because when we actually did have a conversation, she's gonna say, oh, well, I'm 3 months pregnant.
Lies.
Miss Bailey tells Judge Lauren that whenever she went to visit Ms. Knox, she would be hiding under the sheets trying to cover up the fact that she was already 5 months pregnant. From day one, she kept telling her son that she doesn't have a good feeling about this girl.
I asked her 3 times, and we haven't seen Cash ever since I brought that up. And then every time we want to see Cash, Edward has to give her something. Oh, well, if you give me a case of diapers, you can see Cash.
Okay.
Yana, and I still don't receive this stuff. The reason why I don't give them to him, because first off, their house is not even properly, it's not even a house.
This seems like to be more of a problem between Miss Knox and Miss Bailey. It's like Mr. Bailey is completely unbothered and doesn't care what the outcome of today's case will be. Before the two women can cause any more chaos in the court, Judge Lauren asks Jerome to bring in the results.
Mr. Bailey, you are Cash's father.
That's fine. You're still a tramp.
You seem emotionless. How does it feel?
That's my son. I'm gonna move forward with, what I gotta do as a father, and I'm not gonna let her bring me down. I'm gonna just keep doing what I'm doing.
There was enough anger to go around in this court case. Ms. Colbert appeared in court, boiling like a volcano, to prove to Mr. Tubbins that he was the only man who could have fathered her twins. But Mr. Tubbins claimed there was no way he could be the father because he found out that she had slept with 2 of his family members.
Ms. Colbert, you've petitioned the court for a DNA test to prove to Mr. Tubbins that he is the father of your 9-month-old twins, Ariel and Adonis Colbert.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Tubbins, you say you know you're not the twins' father and claim that you uncovered that Ms. Colbert slept with not 1, but 2 of your family members.
Yes, Your Honor.
Everyone wanted to know what kind of relationship Mr. Tubbins and Ms. Colbert had that would make her want to sleep with his family members. Well, guess what? They were actually married. They got married about a month after they met each other, and she claimed it was because of Mr. Tubbins' religion.
I married him 1 month after dating, and it was because of his religion issues. He wanted to become married, and because he wanted to use me. He was living in a house with a 2-year-old child with no hot water and no electricity, and I felt bad for him, and I allowed him to come to my house and stay.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, he impregnates me.
In no time, accusations started to fly about, and the secrets of their relationship started to come to light. After their marriage, less than 3 weeks into the marriage, Mrs. Colbert hops out of nowhere and tells Mr. Tubbins she's pregnant, and in his mind, it just doesn't make sense.
About 3 weeks after you married her, she told you she was pregnant.
Yes.
And immediately you questioned the twins.
Yes, because she lied from the beginning. She told me that the last person that she slept with was 3 months prior before we started trying to get together.
If there's anything Ms. Colbert was sure of, it was the fact that she had the worst taste in men, and getting intimate with Mr. Tubbins was the worst mistake of her life. She claimed he was using her because she loved him and wanted to get him out of a messy position in his life.
He just used me. He was using my truck. He ain't have no way to get around, and I was helping him.
And that's who you chose to sleep with?
It was the worst mistake of my life.
Exactly.
It was the worst mistake of my life.
So you let him move in, then you married him?
Yes, I did. And that was the worst mistake that I ever made in my life.
Mr. Tubbins was still hitting the nail on the head by claiming that Ms. Colbert had slept with his family members. As you would expect, the judge was forced to ask him how he knew something like that happened. His response was nothing short of mind-blowing. He claimed she told him about it.
Yes, I did. It was 20 years before me and him got together. When me and him first started dating, I looked on his Facebook, and I was just being nosy because we starting to date. I want to investigate you. So I'm doing my investigation, and I see the picture of him and a mutual friend of ours. And come to find out, it's his family member. So if we're going to continue on in a relationship, Your Honor.
Newsflash, she didn't just sleep with one of his family members. At least that's what he was claiming in the courtroom. He said that when they broke up, the other family member came to him and told him that if he had mentioned he wanted to get married to her, he would have advised him against it because he also slept with her.
Did this family member say he had also slept with her?
Yes.
So there's one family member from 20 years ago and then this family member?
Yes.
Did she ever tell you about the second family member?
Never.
Miss Colbert, did you sleep with the second family member?
I wouldn't even know what he talking about.
Then, not only that,
it was beyond a mess in the courtroom, with Ms. Colbert and Mr. Tubbins yelling at the top of their voices. Now, Ms. Colbert was voicing out her complaints to the judge and telling her that all the while they were together. Mr. Tubbins never told his family members about her or her babies. Trust me, she was furious about it.
He hid my pregnancy. He didn't want nobody to know that we was even getting married. Why don't you be honest? You call yourself a man of God. Be a man of God and be honest, okay? Don't sit up here and try to paint me out like I'm no tramp when I was nice enough to let you in my home when you ain't have nothing.
Asked me to come. You asked me.
I'm gonna ask you.
Even the judge was about to lose her temper with Mr. Tubbins. He had no evidence to show that the twins were not his children. All his doubts rested on the fact that he felt Ms. Colbert slept with his family members. To make things even worse, he had never seen the twins since they were born.
There'd be one in August. He ain't met him. He ain't looked at him. He ain't bought him a
Hold on. They're about to be 1 year old.
Yes.
And he has never
looked at
seen them?
I take care of my kids. I have 4 kids that I take care of.
He wasn't making any sense to the judge anymore, so he decided to raise the argument about how the conception dates for the twins didn't add up to him. But Ms. Colbert was beyond ready for that fight, trust me.
The doctor said that she conceived on November 20th. We didn't have sex until November 30th.
No, we didn't.
Your Honor.
We had sex a couple days before the 28th, and then we had sex for the second time on the 28th. So we had sex 2 times in a week.
The moment of truth was finally here, but the air was thick with uncertainty. What would the outcome be? Is he the father, or has Ms. Colbert been lying all this time? Time to see what the future holds for them.
Mr. Tubbins, you are the twins' father.
I'm sorry, I'll take care of them, but I have reason for doubt. I have reason for doubt.
Oh,
I'll
really?
take care of them.
Okay, whatever. Whatever.
Before you start acting silly in here off of emotion, you haven't even met your twins. You have 2 beautiful babies.
Ms. Luce was not here to joke. She was suing the defendant for a certain amount she used in taking care of her child. She also claimed there was no need for a DNA test because she was beyond positive that the child belonged to Mr. Zuniga. Mr. Zuniga, on the other hand, believed he was not the father and knew who the actual father was.
Ms. Luce, you are suing the defendant for $2,716.86 of back child care expenses for your son, Marley.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say there's no need for a paternity test because you're certain he is your baby's father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Zuniga, you say you don't owe her a dime because you're not her son's father. You've petitioned the court for a lie detector test.
Now, Ms. Luce took to the floor and talked about how Mr. Zuniga abandoned her and her child for no reason. She claimed after the first 4 months of having her baby, he was beyond excited and didn't want anything more than to be the father of the child, but all that changed.
For the first 4 months of my son's life, he was there. He stepped up. He was a man. He wanted to be his father. He was excited about everything, and then all fell through. He abandoned us. I had to take care of my son alone, on my own. I had to pay for every little bit of the expenses, all the diapers, all the wipes, every single piece of clothing he needed. I have the receipts here.
Mr. Zuniga was trying to counter Ms. Luce's accusations, which stated that he had not done anything for either her or her child. He claimed she was lying and that most of the money he spent on her and her child, but Ms. Luce came prepared with receipts showing she had been taking care of her baby by herself.
He might have put money into the little things he needed then, but he didn't do anything else after that.
And you've presented to the court evidence of expenses you've had to incur.
By myself.
Including diapers, Similac, baby food, feeding set, bibs, onesies, all things a baby needs.
He was trying all he could to paint Ms. Luce as an unfaithful woman who liked the jump from one man to the next. But trust me, that did not last long. Ms. Luce admitted she did sleep with other men, but that was after their relationship had ended.
Well, I found out that she never really stayed in relationships long. She liked to jump from guy to guy.
Ms. Luce, were you sleeping with other men when you were sleeping with Mr. Zuniga?
No, not one. I did sleep with a few men after him, but I was only sleeping with him when we were together.
Okay,
but
Mr. Zuniga, do you have any other children?
No, ma'am. I've always thought I was sterile.
Here's where things escalate to the next level. Mr. Zuniga gave an instance where a random woman walked up to him and told him that Ms. Luce had been sleeping with her husband whenever Mr. Zuniga was away for work. Trust me, the courtroom was shocked to hear that revelation.
She was cheating on me the whole time with her husband. And he looks just like the father. Red hair and blue eyes.
Okay, so the gentleman he's talking about, Ms. Luce, have you had a relationship with this man?
I did have sex with him. There was the relationship, but that was after we split.
Well, the big question on Judge Lauren's mind was how long they had been together. I mean, if you ask me, they should have been together for quite some time to have this kind of mess. That was not the case. They had been in a relationship for only 2 weeks.
Did you say 2.5 weeks?
Yes, Your Honor. As far as I know, she could have been pregnant before I even got with her.
Why are you young people running around having unprotected sex with people you knew for 2 weeks?
The most shocking thing then went on to happen in the courtroom. Ms. Luce had a witness who was going to back her claim that Mr. Zuniga was the father. The witness was none other than Mr. Zuniga's mom. I'm pretty sure you didn't see that coming, did you? Well, she sure wasn't here to take her son's side.
I love my son, don't get me wrong. I really honestly love my son, and I would be on my son's side, but his reasonings are crazy to me. What makes you have a baby? Sex. What did they do? Have unprotected sex. I submitted pictures earlier to the courts of how much they look alike.
It was no longer a battle between Ms. Luce and Mr. Zuniga. Ms. Luce had Mr. Zuniga's mother backing her up so good, you would honestly think his mother was actually Ms. Luce's mother.
I drove there because I didn't believe the kid was gonna come out.
No, Your Honor, can I stop
When
for a
I
minute?
drove there, I wanted to validate that he would hit my kid. I got there, he looked nothing like me. He looked a lot like that
So
kid
when you heard the baby was
cheated on.
coming, you drove 3.5 hours. You said, I want to go see this baby.
No, Your Honor.
Yes.
Did you sign the birth certificate?
I did at first, and then she lost the paperwork.
Judge Lauren had seen enough of the drama in Mr. Zuniga and Ms. Luce's situation. It's finally time to reveal the truth and clear the doubts that were flying around in the courtroom. Who do you believe the father of the child is?
Mr. Zuniga, you are his father.
Oh, thank you, Jesus. You need to tell him you're sorry.
But look at him.
You tell him you're sorry. Look at him. Yes, look at him. Maybe that's yours.
But you lied.
Okay, but look at you.
Yes, I made
All right, we're
right
getting over
compared
that.
to
We're getting
whatever
over that.
test says it. He is your son.
Mr. Hudson was beyond furious with Ms. Bridges. Why? She led him to believe that he was the biological father of her son, then went on to break his heart by telling him she slept with another man. Ms. Bridges didn't deny the fact that she was intimate with another man, but she had every reason to believe that Mr. Hudson was her child's father.
Mr. Hudson, you claim the defendant led you to believe you were her son, Jacory's biological father, then dropped a bomb and admitted she slept with someone else.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're in court to prove you are not her son's father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Bridges, you admit to sleeping with another man, but claim that you have no doubt Mr. Hudson is your child's biological father.
Now, Ms. Bridges and Mr. Hudson had been together for 5 solid years. Around this period was when Ms. Bridges got pregnant, and Mr. Hudson automatically believed he was the father, because at the time, she was the only one she was sleeping with, or so he was led to believe.
So you were there throughout the pregnancy,
Yes,
and you were
ma'am.
taking care of her. You all lived together.
Yes, ma'am.
You had a relationship.
Yes, Your
So
Honor.
you thought this baby was yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you at the birth?
Yes, Your Honor. I was at the hospital. I took her to doctor's appointments. I was there. I cut the umbilical cord, Your Honor. I even signed the birth certificate on the day of the birth.
The truth bomb couldn't have picked a better time to be dropped, trust me. At one of their son's birthday parties, Mr. Hudson and Ms. Bridges got into a heated argument, and that's when the truth jumped out of Ms. Bridges' mouth that she slept with another man.
And so, Mr. Hudson, you say this bomb she dropped. When did she drop this bomb?
We had an argument, and that's when she came and she was telling me how I might not be the father and she had done these things. But I paid no attention to them because I am the father. I'm supposed to be the father. I'm here.
Since Mr. Hudson found out that his girlfriend cheated on him, he hasn't been in the child's life at all. It's not like he didn't want to be in his son's life, but he claimed he had no way of contacting his child because Ms. Bridges wouldn't let him see the baby.
I have no way of getting in contact with him. I can't talk to him. I can't see him.
He knows my auntie number. I gave it to him plenty of times. You just making things up, just not to be in the baby's life.
So is it your inability to get in contact with the child really what's holding you back, or is it the fact that you don't truly know?
I mean, Ms. Bridges admitted to cheating, so there was a high chance that there were possibly 2 different men who could be the fathers of the child. The big question now is, what's making her so certain that the child belongs to Mr. Hudson and not the guy she slept with?
I've been there, correct. I took care of her when the time when she had no one else to take care of her.
Yes, and I
I
appreciate
took
that
the part.
for everything.
I did everything. She didn't have to do nothing but go to school. I paid all the bills. I worked 2 jobs
Yes.
at the age of 18.
He feels like you led him to believe he was the father.
Mr. Davis, the the man she had a sexual relationship with outside of her initial relationship with Mr. Hudson, walks into the courtroom and his mouth is filled with so many truth bombs, believe me. The crazy thing was that Mr. Davis also thought he was the father of her child.
Me and Miss Bridges met. We hung out for a couple of months. We ended up having unprotected sex around about 3 times. I didn't know that she was pregnant at all until I looked on Facebook one day, like a year later, and I see a picture of her son. And immediately I think her son looks like my nephew. About a year after that, she came to me. She's like, oh, well, can you tell me the days that...
Now, Ms. Bridges couldn't get her story right with the judge, and it was really starting to piss her off. First, she claimed she knew for a fact that Mr. Hudson was the child, but she left out the part where she also made it known to Mr. Davis that he could also be a potential father.
But I mean, if you know that was short, then what was the point of coming to me and saying anything at all?
Because, like, I was just adding up the dates to see how. I was just adding up the dates. He said it was wrong.
Okay, but then you came right back to me.
I came to you.
You came right back to me, and when I asked you why you asked the second time, you're like...
Hold your breath now, because the DNA test results are ready to be revealed. The tension was escalating, with emotions running high, and the truth was about to hit like a plot twist. Who's the real baby daddy? Let's see.
Mr. Hudson, you are not his father. Mr. Davis, you are not his father. This courtroom is in shock. This is not what anyone expected today.
Mr. Paige was beyond upset in the courtroom. Trust me, he was willing to bring down the roof on everyone if he was given the chance. His ex-fiancée cheated on him, moved his son to another state, and decided to marry the man she cheated on him with. To make things worse, she didn't deny it.
Mr. Paige, you claim your ex-fiancée and the mother of your 3-year-old son cheated on you and then took your son to another state to marry the man she cheated with. Now you say Miss Sutton also has a 2-year-old daughter whom she claims is yours, even though her husband has been raising her as his own.
Now, Mr. Paige was asked to talk about why he and his ex-fiancée split in the first place. The sentence that dropped from his mouth would make you understand the intensity of his frustration.
My ex-fiancée, Alicia, cheated on me and moved to another state with my son. And then...
So wait, back up for a second, Mr. Paige.
Can I start?
You're together.
We was together, Your Honor.
You're engaged.
Yes.
And then you found out she was cheating.
Yes.
Tell
she
me
started
about
like this.
this.
She said she her girlfriend.
To make things worse, Ms. Sutton, who happened to be the ex-fiancée in the picture, wasn't denying any of the claims. The big question is how they both got themselves into such a messy situation. Ms. Sutton had her own side of the story to tell, and it sure seemed like Mr. Paige was no saint either.
Let me hear from you from the beginning, Ms. Sutton.
First of all, we have a 3-year-old son, and yes, he was there at the birth of my son. But the reason why I cheated, because you was never home. You want to do what you want to do, smoking, drinking. If I'm hearing you out doing all these things, why I can't go do it?
Ms. Sutton claimed that she was getting information from people that suggested that Mr. Paige was doing some funny business with women while he claimed to be out working. What was even more mind-blowing about where she got the information was that she got the news from Mr. Paige's friends.
He's in other girls' face and all that stuff. I said, okay, you can be in other females' face, but what is he doing with these females? Oh, you don't even want me to tell you.
That's
how they go. You don't even want me to tell you. If your homeboy is saying you don't even want me to tell, that means you sleeping with her. You sitting up here acting like I was such a hoe and I cheated.
Him about this?
These two couldn't stand each other one bit. In his defense, Mr. Paige claimed that he was an unhappy person in their relationship, and that when he was sad, he would go out to drink his sorrows away. But Ms. Sutton was hell-bent on believing that any time he went out, he always went to sleep with someone else.
So now I just...
Okay, so they give you a reason to cheat. If you unhappy?
I went out and drank late night. I went out and drank with my son.
So you were out hanging out,
yes,
and you were drinking, but you weren't cheating.
Yes,
now,
never cheated.
Miss Sutton, when you heard was that he was out sleeping around.
I didn't believe it at first, because I want to find out on my own. I'm not just
so what
did you do? Females.
Here's where things start to get intense. Mr. Paige was already having his suspicions that Miss Sutton had been messing around with someone new. He wasn't sure who it was, so he decided to find out. His detective instincts were pretty good because he found the man who she had been sleeping with.
My fiancée, Alicia Sutton, he started saying right there, he said, I'm sorry. That should never happen. I said, did you sleep with Alicia? He said, yes, I did.
Okay.
At that time, my one tear dropped in my eyes.
Just one?
One tear just dropped. I promise you. A tear dropped in my eyes. My heart felt like it was upon my hand.
This case was taking a spin for the worst. All you could feel for Mr. Paige was sadness because Ms. Sutton really did him dirty. Moving on, Mr. Cooper wasn't just her new man. Oh, trust me, he was way more than that. They were married, and to make things worse, he was claiming he was the father of her baby.
The last 2 years, I've taken care of this baby. I've done everything I could. She's mine. I feel it in my heart that she's mine. You know, despite what happened between Alicia and I and her ex-fiance, I accept that. I'm sorry for that. But when Alicia told me she was pregnant, you know, I was excited, you know.
No, you was not excited, because when
Yes, he was excited.
When I told you, you told me that this child is not yours.
The stakes were high for both Mr. Paige and Ms. Sutton. On one side, Mr. Paige was desperately hoping the baby was going to be his. On the other hand, Ms. Sutton was hoping the baby belonged to her husband so she could save her marriage. Well, let's see who goes home with butterflies in their stomach.
Mr. Paige, you are her father. No emotion. What are you feeling?
I always want a precious daughter. That's my first daughter in the family. And I'm gonna love her and raise her.
Mr. Cooper, I see you feeling very emotional. I know this wasn't the news you wanted.
She's still mine.
Over my dead body. That's my daughter.
Does anything ever go right in paternity court? Mrs. Smethers dragged the defendant to court because she was so devastated that he was refusing to accept paternity for her child. She was confident that the results would knock some sense into him so he would act right. Miss Stevens didn't care about how she felt at all. She had proof that he couldn't be the father.
Smethers, you have dragged the defendant to court because you are devastated that he refuses to accept that he is your son Adrian's biological father. You claim today's DNA test results will have a dramatic impact on your future as a family. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Stevens, you say that one look at you and the baby is all the proof anyone needs to see that you are not the father.
Well, things were not always so bad in their relationship. Mrs. Smethers and Mr. Stevens have known each other for quite some time, even before they got into a romantic relationship. After the birth of their first daughter, all hell broke loose in their relationship.
Well, Your Honor, me and Mr. Stevens met when I was 16 years old. We went to GED classes together. We eventually started dating. I moved in with him, and we had our first daughter. After that, it went from good to bad. Mr. Stevens started cheating on me. I was always at home with the baby. You know, he was always out with girls.
Like I said, their relationship went from bad to worse, and the worst things happened. For the first 5 years of their relationship, Mr. Stevens had been cheating on Ms. Smethers with several different women. Mrs. Smethers felt betrayed, and as you would expect, she had her revenge.
For the first 5 years of our relationship, I did not step out of the relationship until right before our son was conceived.
She wants to say, like, I cheated on her for the 5 years, but, like, there'd be times when I'd text her and ask her, like, hey, where you at? Well, she's supposed to be at home, but yet she's in a different state. She was in a different state.
Now, Mrs. Smethers finds out she's pregnant, and she obviously can't wait to break the news to Mr. Stevens. She tells him about the pregnancy, and he immediately becomes the happiest man on earth, but the doubts start to kick in, and things take a different turn.
You were?
Yeah, at first, yeah, I was happy. And then the aspect is like, you know, she was pregnant, but she waited 5 months to tell me that there was a possibility that he wasn't mine.
Oh, so initially when you found out she was pregnant, you didn't have any
I was
issue.
excited, like, cause you know, like I found out that it was a boy, so like, you know, it was my first boy. I was excited about that. You know, like I wanted a first child, like as a boy. That's what my 2 daughters were supposed to be.
The truth bomb drops, and the courtroom is in complete shock. After having the baby in her stomach, she sits Mr. Stevens down and tells him she cheated, and that there is a chance that the baby might not actually belong to him. Trust me, he didn't take the news so well.
Our mutual friends that we had together, they ended up coming out and telling me that she opened up to them and told them that AJ might not be mine and that she cheated on me. And
I did open up and say that I was with another man, but I never said that AJ was not his.
Even though you didn't say it, could it be true?
It was, my conception date was between October 7th and the 11th.
Their case had more juice than a juice factory. Ms. Smethers was claiming that she only got intimate with the another guy once, but Mr. Stevens said that was a lie. He even went on to say that one of their sexual adventures happened right under his mother's roof. Would you imagine that? I would lose my mind if I were in his shoes.
with her and the other guy, it was more than one time. And then on top of that, it was at my mom's house, in our bedroom.
What?
You know what I'm saying? And at my parents' house. And like I begged for them.
Like
honestly, that's what happened.
No, that is beyond wrong.
My brother, he ended up coming down from Ohio. So like I ended up venturing off to help him try to get his life back on track.
Mr. Stevens' mind was as tight as a fist, ready to knock someone out. He didn't change his belief that he wasn't the father of the child Ms. Smethers was claiming to be his. When asked why, he went on to say there were no features of the baby that matched any of his.
When it comes to it, like he's the lightest one.
Okay, well, you know babies come in all different skin colors. You cannot judge a baby by what color they come out,
but
or even what color they are. You can't judge that.
I know, that's one of his main points. That's what I'm trying to get through his head. Just because he has lighter skin doesn't mean he's not his.
How many children do you have?
3.
And Adrian is the baby?
Yes, ma'am.
There was no doubt, though. Mr. Stevens, even with his doubt, didn't want to completely turn his back on the baby. Being that there is a chance he could end up being the father, he wanted to build a bond with the child and also make sure the child had a father figure in its life, but the doubts just couldn't get out of his head.
A lot of the times, but I try not to because it messes with me. That gives me more doubt, and like I just don't want that. Like I want me and him to have a bond. Like I want us to be able to go fishing. I want us to be able to go hunting and do stuff together.
And that upsets you?
Yes, ma'am.
I see your eyes, they're watering. When you look, it's like you're trying not to see, but you just feel like you can see this other man.
Yeah, like I don't see myself when I look at him.
Well, Mr. Stevens sure couldn't shake the doubts about being the father from his mind. The judge sensed that, and the only way to calm his mind was to reveal the truth. The results are in, and I hope you paternity folks are ready for them. Here comes the truth.
Mr. Stevens, you are the father. I was happy to deliver those results to you.
Thank you.
I can see this means a lot to you.
Yeah.
In her words, she was convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt that the father of her baby was none other than Mr. Gilbert, who was the defendant. Ms. Davis claimed the only reason he didn't want to step up as the father was because he had been brainwashed by his sister. Mr. Gilbert once believed the child was his father, but after his sister shed some light, his doubts became unshakable.
Ms. Davis, you say that you are convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt Mr. Gilbert is your son Corey's father. You feel the only reason Mr. Gilbert is denying paternity is because he has been brainwashed and manipulated by his meddling sister. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Gilbert, you admit you once believed you were Corey's father, but began to have doubts.
The only logical question to ask Ms. Davis was why she felt Mr. Gilbert's sister poisoned his mind into thinking he wasn't the father of her child. She claimed it all happened when Mr. Gilbert's family found out she was pregnant. For some reason, they never accepted her and the baby.
This baby. And then when I got pregnant, he was there. And it's like when he told his family I was pregnant, that's when they turned against me. And they had put in his mind that he's not the father of my son.
You were in a relationship?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about the relationship.
We met in my old neighborhood. It was like love first sight. We was friends first when we was in love. I didn't want to get pregnant, but he wanted a child.
One thing was for sure, though. They both agreed they wanted to have a baby. But then, where did it all go wrong? I mean, if he wanted to have a baby with Ms. Davis, why then is he having doubts that the baby might not be his?
Did you tell her you want to have a baby?
Yes, Your Honor.
So why doubt the baby?
Because it's like the friends she hang out with, I don't agree with them. None of them.
So it made you feel like birds of a feather may flock together?
They always do.
But I'm my own person. I'm my own person. I know who I want.
So you admit that your friends are kind of out there, Miss Davis, but you say that you aren't?
No.
Well, it all kept coming down to the fact that Mr. Gilbert's family never liked her. Before she got pregnant, everything was like a bed of roses for them. But as soon as they found out she had a baby, they were selling a different story. Ms. Davis didn't even know when she got pregnant. It was Mr. Gilbert who noticed it.
They was cool with me at first until I got pregnant.
How did you find out you're pregnant?
I was sleeping all day and he went to go get the pregnancy test for me. He told me I was pregnant before I knew.
You remember this day, Mr. Gilbert?
Yes, ma'am.
And you go get the pregnancy test?
Yes, ma'am.
You take the test and what happens?
It came up positive.
Mr. Gilbert was a soft-hearted man. In no time, you could see tears dropping from his eyes. There was nothing more he wanted in the world than for the baby to be his own. If the results came out as the opposite, he was definitely going to be heartbroken.
You want it to be your son?
And they hurt his feelings because that's the only thing he happy about in his life and they want to take it away from him. That's not true.
Because you remember that moment and that means a lot to you, that you were there for the entire pregnancy, for this baby, and you had no doubts at that time. And when you see that
they
picture,
know it's this baby.
It just upsets you because you really want this baby to be yours.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Jones, who happened to be Mr. Gilbert's sister and had been quiet all this while, finally decided to speak. You could tell that she was not a fan of Ms. Davis. She claimed that she heard from people that Ms. Davis had been sleeping with other people and was even pregnant before she met her brother.
My brother, if he could have kids, he'd have 6 of them. He hasn't had any. And that's why we're in denial, because my brother, he's sick and he hasn't conceived any kids. The baby don't look like anybody in our family. He doesn't look like us or nowhere. He doesn't. He doesn't look like my brother at all. He doesn't.
Did the doubt happen while Ms. Davis was pregnant?
When she was pregnant, she used to be in my grandma and my mom's house all the time. We started denying. We never believed it.
His sister wasn't in that courtroom to joke around. Oh, trust me, she meant business. Aside from saying that Ms. Davis had been messing around, she also claimed that her brother was trying to be a successful rapper and Ms. Davis wanted to be at the end feeding off his money.
They don't have any money, so
that's what I'm saying. But people think you're going to make it. Yes, ma'am.
He's going to make it.
Yes, ma'am. That's what I'm saying. I know he don't got no money.
She don't know me.
So
no. I'm just don't know what I'm saying to you is look.
A lot of money.
She thinks Miss Davis believes you're going places.
It was like an all-out war between Ms. Davis and Ms. Jones. It was just too obvious that both women had no love for each other. Now the judge needed specific details as to why Ms. Jones felt the baby in question could not belong to her brother. She had quite a lot to say, and I promise you will be left speechless.
The neighborhood that she's from, our family has grew up there, so they know. Of course, this is my brother, so I'm going to defend. If somebody's coming to me with information about my brother that they're saying that this not his baby, of course I'm not going to believe it. I'm going to believe because I don't know her.
I need you to be specific as to what you heard.
First of all, she was having threesomes with men. She was already pregnant before she met my brother. That's what I heard.
Okay, let's go one at a time.
The moment of truth was finally here. It's time to see what the future holds for them. Would Mr. Gilbert end up being the father, or has Ms. Davis been lying all this while? Well, let's find out.
Mr. Gilbert, you are the father.
Right back with me.
Miss Davis, what are you feeling, honey?
Because I've been trying to get this out for so long, and it hurt. It hurt bad.
Well, this was one brawl on paternity court that no one would ever forget. Ms. Boville was in court with her mother because of a truth bomb the defendant dropped on them. Apparently, 2 years ago, the man she always believed to be her father told Ms. Boville and her mother that he wasn't her real dad.
Ms. Boville, 2 years ago, you and your mother were shocked when the man you always believed is your dad told you he is not your biological father. You tried to bring the defendant to paternity court 6 months ago, but say he backed out of his appearance. Now that he is here today, you state the DNA results will finally prove your case. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
For over 20 years, Mr. Boville held on to a life-changing secret, at least so he claimed. He claimed that while he was much younger, he knew that her mother had been unfaithful in their relationship, and he knew who her actual father was. Ms. Boville was devastated when she was told about the situation.
Felt like my mom was unfaithful and was doing things that wasn't right within the relationship.
Understood.
So now, when I got the phone call, I kind of brushed it off, and then my brother James was on the phone with my dad, and that's when I heard him out of his own mouth say that.
Ms. Boville wasn't the only one in shock, though. Ms. Duval, who happened to be Ms. Boville's mother, claimed the news about Mr. Boville not being her father took her by surprise. She had no idea that Mr. Boville had doubts about being the father because he never spoke of them.
I was in shock. I had no clue that he ever doubted that Carrie was his daughter. Carrie was devastated.
Well, I expect so.
My daughter broke down, and this is my only daughter.
Mr. Boville,
yes,
you
Your Honor.
decided to make this call on Thanksgiving weekend, sir?
I asked one of my sons for Carrie's number because I wanted to share something with him.
Well, everyone in the courtroom needed answers, including the judge. There was no way in the world Judge Lauren wasn't going to ask Mr. Boville where his doubts were coming from and why. All of a sudden, he felt he wasn't Ms. Boville's father.
I lived in Boston. Regina lived in Springfield. And when I relocated from Boston to Springfield, the first 2 weeks I got there, people I didn't even know was telling me, yo, this guy's talking about that's his woman. And so I goes to Regina and I ask her, Regina, what this guy talking about? I only been in this town for 2 weeks. This went on for like 10 years. You know what I'm saying?
10 years?
10 years.
Mr. Boville was trying to sell the unfaithful woman's story to the judge. He claimed that while they were together, people would ask him if he knew she had another girlfriend. But Ms. Duval wasn't going to let me drag her name into the mud. She called him a liar and there was no truth to all he was saying.
Mr. Boville, if you doubt doubted me, if you did not trust me, why did you stay? If you felt like that all those years, you should have left.
So all of these years, Mr. Boville, you believe that this other man, who's married to a family member, could be Carrie's biological father?
Yes, Your Honor. What convinced me was 4 years ago, I went to North Carolina.
Mr. Boville wasn't proving any valid points, so he decided to tell a different story. He recalled a time when he paid a visit to one of Ms. Duval's cousins, and when he saw a picture of his child, he knew for a fact that she wasn't his child. Ms. Boville didn't let that story go on for long. She cut him short before he could even finish.
That's when I said, you know, I knew I was right. I knew I was right.
You saw a picture of this man's granddaughter.
Granddaughter.
And it looks exactly like...
I said, that's my, tears came out of my eyes. That's when I said, I knew I was right. I knew I was right.
If you look at anybody in my family, from my first cousins down to my third cousins, we all have a same trait.
Well, Ms. Duval was pretty upset, trust me. Apart from her being angry over the fact that he was rejecting her daughter for no reason, she was also furious that he was telling stories that didn't have any value and was trying to drag her family name into the mud.
Before you came to
Your Honor, first of all, we are a very close-knit family. The grandchildren are 70 plus deep of my mother's grands and great-grands, and all of them look alike. But the one thing that I did not want to happen here is that my family values would be tarnished.
Now, Mr. Boville's name wasn't signed on her birth certificate. When he was asked why that was the case, he claimed none of his children had his name signed on their birth certificates. But Ms. Duval said that wasn't true, and he refused to sign the birth certificate on purpose.
None of my kids' birth certificates.
You didn't let him sign the birth certificate, Ms. Duval?
Nope,
Ma'am, no,
nope.
that's not the case.
Nope.
Mr. Boville never took the time to go there and sign those birth certificates. I told him time and time again, you are a grown man. Go to that hospital, to the wherever, and sign your children's birth certificates. I cannot sign them for you.
It's time we put an end to the brawl between Ms. Duval and Mr. Boville. The big question still remains, who is Ms. Boville's real father? I guess the DNA results will reveal the answers we are all waiting to hear.
Mr. Boville, you are the father.
But now that he knows and he has no more reason to doubt me as his daughter.
Ms. Arbogast had taken enough of Mr. Vess's shenanigans. She was furious that he started denying her 2-year-old daughter the moment he got into a relationship with one of her former friends. Mr. Vess was solid on the fact that Ms. Arbogast was a very promiscuous woman, and there were doubts about him being the father.
Ms. Arbogast, you are in court today claiming the defendant started denying your 2-year-old daughter, Kinsley, once he got into a relationship with your former friend.
Yes,
You claim the defendant has ignored the needs of your children, so you are suing for the maximum amount of $5,000 for child care expenses. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Like I said, Ms. Arbogast was very upset and most of all, irritated. She claimed that for over 2 years, Mr. Vess contributed only $100 to the upbringing of their child. Guess what? Mr. Vess actually didn't deny it. He claimed he wasn't going to take care of a child he wasn't certain was his.
If you say $100 over 2 years helping, then, I mean, if that's in his eyes, yeah.
$100 over 2 years?
No, he hasn't really helped at all.
You haven't been helping at all, Mr. Vess?
No, because how can I take care of somebody's daughter that may or may not be mine?
Okay, well, just because you don't want to take care of our daughter, we still have a 3-year-old son that you haven't helped for either.
So you have another baby too?
Yes.
And there's no question as to the paternity of that child?
No, Your Honor.
The crazy thing about their situation was that this wasn't their first child together. They already had a son before this particular child in question, and Mr. Vess wasn't taking care of that child either. He believed the first child they had together belonged to him, but he wasn't going to accept responsibility for their daughter.
Not at least providing for that child.
I have been providing for that child, but
When?
recently I have been having bills and everything else that, you know,
How much money do you say you've contributed to Kinsley?
Kinsley probably $100.
Okay, so she's right.
Ms. Arbogast was in court with her new boyfriend, whom she claimed had been helping her take care of her kids. There was no denying it, though. Ms. Arbogast really loved her new boyfriend because he was always there for her kids. They even think he is their father.
He's the one who they wake up to every morning. He's the one who takes them out, does things with them, plays football with them. He does the father role, not Mr. Vess.
You've taken an active role in the children's life.
Yes, Your Honor.
How many times have you witnessed witness Mr. Vess financially support his children?
One time since I've been in their lives for the last 7 months, and that was $20 for pull-ups and diapers.
So you've developed a bond with the children?
Yes, I have.
As you would expect, Judge Lauren wanted to know how things got to this level. I mean, they both started as a couple who loved each other, and now they seem like they can't wait to rip each other's throats. How did that happen?
It was between August 11th and August 13th. Then he told me I couldn't be friends with somebody I had been friends with for 9 years. He told me if you to go have sex with him, that's the only way to break your emotional connection. And I have witnesses, plenty of witnesses, who can attest to him saying this and have heard him say it.
The stories that were being told in that courtroom were just impossible to believe. Ms. Arbogast claimed that Mr. Vess told her that he wanted her to be intimate with another man, all because he felt she had feelings for him. The mind-blowing part is that she actually took his advice.
It was late at night. He came and got me. We went to the lake and we went to the gas station, bought condoms, went to the lake, did our deal, and I went back home and got in bed with him. Took a shower and then got in bed. And he was all good.
You say she's making this up?
Yeah, I do. We were arguing about something, I don't know exactly what. I got mad, and I told her that she should go and, be with somebody else.
Just like Ms. Arbogast, Mr. Al Vess had his own girlfriend in court, and she was ready to fight anyone and everyone. She claimed that she remembered a time where Ms. Arbogast and Mr. Vess were having an argument over the phone, and she told him he wasn't the father of her child.
I don't know if it was out of anger or what, but yes, she did say it shortly after they broke up that Kinsley was possibly not his.
How old was Kinsley at this point?
At the time of our split up, she was just shy of being 2 months old.
Did you ever tell him that she wasn't his?
No, I never once told him. If that wasn't his baby and I knew that wasn't his baby, why would I let him sign the birth certificate in the hospital?
Ms. Arbogast, enraged with so much anger, claimed they were trying to make her look like a bad person. She said, since the birth of her child, she has been begging Mr. Vess to play his role as a father, but he never once agreed to being the father.
Never have told him that Kinsley is not his. I have been begging for a paternity test. I even asked him to go and buy one of those $35 kits off the shelf DNA paternity tests that you do at home and then you send it to a lab. Oh, I don't have the money for that.
Okay, but if you're the one begging for it, why didn't you go out and get it yourself?
Because you're the one who denies her.
Okay,
so you should pay for it.
I have been asking.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I've been asking for a while for a paternity test.
No.
Well, it's time we brought the Cuttoons down on this plot twist, wouldn't you say? It was time to find out the truth and know if the craziness was all worth it. The moment of truth is here, people. Brace yourselves for the results.
In the case of Arbogast versus Vess, when it comes to 2-year-old Kinsley Vess, Mr. Vess, you are the father.
I see.
This situation's got to change.